Welcome to the Do Good X podcast, a sanctuary from the entrepreneurial grind. Hosts Kimberly Danielle and Stephen Lewis, advocates for impactful entrepreneurship, guide you on the path where purpose meets business. Join us to slow down, reconnect, and explore the challenges of under-resourced entrepreneurs, uncovering the unique journey of building businesses that make a difference. Now, your host.
Welcome to the Do Good X podcast. My name is Stephen Lewis, and I am a catalyst for change in communities and businesses. And for over 2 decades, I've inspired leaders and entrepreneurs to live and work on purpose with intention, faith, and a commitment to their well-being. And I'm delighted to be here with my co-host today, Kimberly Danielle. Kimberly, it's good to see you.
Good to see you as always, Stephen, and good to be here with you all. I am a community builder, a coach, a communication strategist, and I come from generations of faith-driven leaders and entrepreneurs who believe that our purpose should drive us to contribute to the common good. And in our last episode or previous episodes, you heard that we are focusing on community, and that's going to be a topic of today, but in a different way that we have talked about it before. So today, we are specifically talking about community as a business model. And we have never talked about that before. How businesses build a community of trust, loyalty, and real impact while making a profit. But the profit isn't the sole focus. To help us to explore this, we are joined by someone who is really deep in this work, and that is Bri Leever, founder of Ember Consulting and also Practical Voice in the world of community strategy. She keeps it real. She is very straightforward and gives us a lot to really think about. Bri got her start growing a thriving community into a multi-million-dollar revenue stream for a brand in Portland, Oregon. And now she helps creators, coaches, and consultants build online paid communities that are sustainable, impactful, and aligned with their businesses. She's not only a community strategist by day, but she's also a camper van host by night. Yes, you heard me right. Camper van host on the beautiful island of Hawaii, where you'll usually find her on, in, or under the water. And I love that. I'm from the coast, but not Hawaii. Bri believes that when the right people gather in the right space at the right time, powerful things can happen. And so she's here with us to share her wisdom on exactly how to make that magic happen, particularly in a sustainable business model. I met Bri via LinkedIn. I've mentioned that before on other podcast episodes where I've met other folks via LinkedIn. And when I have mentioned that before, most of those folks I met because of Bri.
Wow.
So the power of online communities as well, such as LinkedIn. And so I'm very grateful for the relationship that we have built and for you, Bri, taking the time to be with us today to share your insights and your wisdom. So I appreciate you.
I'm so grateful to be here. So glad to join you all. And Kimberly's come into my community and shared her brilliance and genius there. So it's just, we got to keep it going.
Wow,
yes,
that's great.
yes. That sense of reciprocity, which Stephen and I had talked about in a previous episode, is so powerful.
Yeah.
We are going to just jump in. I mean, I mentioned that you grew a community. You started by growing a community and generated multi-million-dollar revenue stream. I mean, come on, that's a wonderful place to start. And that's really incredible that you did that. So when you talk about building community right the first time, given this experience of yours and what you created, what does that actually look like in practice?
It's a good place to start. So I like to start by getting really clear on the type of community that's going to serve your business best, for what your business needs, for what you're willing and able to offer your members in terms of value. And that can look really, really different. I've seen the whole gamut of the community spaces, and I got started in what I would call a nurturing community, which is where it's Even though our community, I mean, people did technically pay to join, it was an ambassador community. So people were signing on to represent the brand. And when they signed on, they got product. So they were paying for the product technically, but they were also technically paying to be in the community. But I still kind of quantify it as free in my mind, because the community was designed to nurture our customers into a deeper relationship with the brand, and for our ambassadors to be empowered to share their own story through the brand. Many businesses look at community as a method for nurturing their customers deeper into the relationship with the product or the service. On the other hand, you have communities that are designed as the product. The community itself is a paid experience. And these communities can be education-centric, where you are guiding them through a known process and a learning journey. It's like the communal road trip is how I describe it. Like, hey, we're going to go from point A to point B. You guys do this with your accelerators. I would call this a paid education-centric community experience. These experiences tend to be time-bound. They have a start time and an end time. And then we have paid community experiences that are more evergreen, and they tend to be connection-centric. So this is where the value of the experience inside of the community is coming not from one person or a small group of people who are leading the education, but it comes from the interactions between members. So the value of the experience comes from your interactions between your members. So at first, when you first think about community, people usually have a preconceived idea in their mind based on what they've seen or what they've experienced. And one of the first steps I like to do is get really, really clear on all of the ways that business and community can intersect, and make sure that we're really honing in on the type of community that's going to be best positioned to serve their business, and their business is going to be best positioned to serve that community. Because sometimes it's not always what you think. I've had people come to me who are like, Bri, we need a free community. And when we get down to it, they're like, oh my God, we need a paid community. I never would have thought. I never would have expected. Or reverse. Sometimes they're like, yeah, I have this like paid experience. And I'm like, I don't know if that's going to be the play for your customers. So it just depends.
So, Bri, tell us, what do people oftentimes get wrong when it comes to building a paid online community?
Oh, that's a really good question. Well, the main thing is if they're launching a paid online community, they'll do a test for free, and they think that's a good idea. And I'm like, wait a second. This is the whole point of this test is to figure out, will people pay? Do they find this valuable enough to pay and to show up and participate in a way that's meaningful? And we're afraid. I get it. I totally have been there, and we aren't confident in our offering. We're also not, it's usually people are encountering a new skill of community building, and so they're not super confident that they know what they're doing. For very good reason. They're actually in a state of unconscious incompetence and they need help. So because of that fear, we don't go all in, and we test it with like free, like our free founders, or we give away like everything that we're doing to our friends and family, and we hope that they like it. Or we invite people in and we ask, there's a big difference when you're getting ready to launch your community and you open the doors and you say, what do you think? Do you like it? What would you change? Do you like it though? Or the other option of you open the doors and you say, I heard you. I know exactly what you're looking for. And this is the place where we're going to wrestle with the problems and challenges that are happening to you right now. When you approach the launch with that confidence, it allows your members to come in and just like lean back into the experience. They're given permission to trust your process, which has a dramatic impact on how they participate in the community. When you open the doors and you're still not sure or confident that you did it right, your members will feel that energy and they're not going to trust the process in the same way. So those are two of the big ones. Like one, if you're trying to launch a paid community, your test has to be paid. And two, when you go to open the doors, like resource yourself with what you need so that when you open the doors, you are confident in it, because that's going to be a big difference in that initial momentum.
That's good. That's real good, because a lot of entrepreneurs have some level of fear around, are people even going to pay for this? And so they wound up opening the doors for free. But to your point, how are you going to get data and know that somebody's willing to pay for it without putting it out there as a paid membership or community? So that's really good. And also with confidence, I've heard a lot of entrepreneurs say, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm still going to put my foot forward. Whereas some people, they're questioning their confidence and they allow that to hold them back. But having that confidence and communicating and having the data points of saying, I hear you, and this is why we created this community, and this is what we're going to provide in this space, that can go a very long way. So what you shared, it is simple, but it's really profound, because I don't think that all entrepreneurs really consider those key pieces in creating community. So that's good. That's good. Stephen, were you going to ask another question, or did you have a follow-up there?
Well, yeah, I was just going to say that, the feedback loop that's important to testing whatever kind of community that you're trying to create. I think that's really important. But what I was going to say, Bri, is that, in a post-COVID era where everyone is on screens all the time, they have short attention spans and that type of thing. Like, are people still interested in online community? And if so, what's the secret ingredients? What's the secret sauce? Spill the tea.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Oh my gosh, can you see the gecko on the wall? He just moved out of the screen.
I see.
But that was too good. I just saw this little shadow like creeping its way. I do live in Hawaii. I'm not making it up. It's a really good question. So there's a couple ways we can approach this. And I actually love, and I've been attracting for my client base, a lot more of the hybrid model, where people will have like an in-person retreat. They'll have an in-person core experience that they want an online experience to complement and to continue the ongoing work, because these in-person experiences can be like so powerful and impactful. There is just like something completely different about being in person with folks. And we feel that right now, especially in post-COVID, we feel the value of that in-person experience. So what I've seen is like the 1-2 punch for me in community is that combination of, we have a grounded core in-person experience that functions as like this really sticky glue for the group. And then the online experience continues the work and the foundation that was built at that in-person experience. That's my favorite combination. But that being said, I know plenty of communities, my own included, which are exclusively online. And that's the experience. And maybe someday we'll build up to an in-person experience as well. What it comes down to is the experience and what the transformation that's happening in your community valuable enough for people to be willing to spend their time and their energy inside? It all comes down to that. And if they're going to join, the question is like, do they perceive it to be valuable enough? And then once they're in, did you deliver on that promise? Did they receive the transformation? Or did you overpromise and underdeliver? Or did you promise it just right, but they didn't hold up their end of the bargain and they didn't actually show up in the community? Community work's really tricky, because it's not just like you're delivering something that is only dependent on you as the deliverer. It is entirely dependent on how people show up in your community. Like, the value that people get in your community is entirely dependent on them, and whether or not they show up and trust your process and participate. So it's really tricky work, because we're not just talking about like handing something over to people in a typical business transactional relationship. I wish it was that easy. Instead, we're talking about posturing people, teaching them how to talk to each other in meaningful ways and develop habits in the online space that, frankly, social media never equipped us for.
Yes. That's good. Man, that's good. Kimberly. This is what I'm talking about. That's good, Bri. That's great.
Yes.
Because you're right.
Yes.
I mean, social media does not socialize people to be in relationship with one another and to figure out how do you do that in the medium online space. And so there's a lot of work that has to be done. And you're right. We just talked about this, about how community is a two-way street and that you have to take ownership for how you're going to show up in community, what you're going to give, as well as what you take from the experience overall. That's good.
Yeah, I write about I read about this on LinkedIn and saying, like, we are not, as a society and culture, we are not ready to fix the loneliness epidemic. Like, we are not equipped in our deficit of social capital, online or in person. We are not ready to become less lonely. We are not equipped for it. And I do think that there's a lot of factors that contribute to it. There's a really good documentary called Join or Die, which is like the worst title because it makes it sound like a documentary about a cult.
Right.
It's not that. It's about the over the last couple of decades, the state of social capital in America specifically. So it's a great follow-up watch to this conversation. What social media did for us was it had a fake plastic promise of community, that we would build community, that we would stay connected. What it really did was it taught us how to build an audience or consume more content. And that's very different. Building an audience is very different than building a community. And in the community spaces, we've been undoing a lot of this work for the last 5 to 10 years because everybody calls social media community and it's really watering down my SEO. It's like a big problem. So it's getting better.
Bri, for our listeners, say that again. Repeat that.
Yeah. The part where what social media promised us.
Yeah, and building a community is not.
Oh, yeah. There's a big difference between building an audience on social media and building an online community. Social media taught us and conditioned us to be consumers of content, not to be participants of community. Social media also taught us to build audiences to be the sole value of material and value and content. It turned us into little content producing engines. It did not equip us to be connectors of people, to create environments where other people are providing value to each other.
This is good, Bri. You should be on somebody's podcast.
That's what I'm saying.
It's so fun to go off on somebody else's podcast. Like, I have to say.
Which I will say for you listeners, if you are interested and intrigued in this content that Bri is putting out, I do encourage you to follow her on LinkedIn because this is the type of information that she shares in her post. And so it's valuable content that you get for free on LinkedIn. But I also invite you to also check out her services as well and the community that she provides. So valuable. So Bri, you've been in this work for over a decade. What would you say has changed the most in online communities?
Yeah, that's really good. Honestly, this is kind of a cop-out answer, but it's not because it speaks to the more foundational layers that have changed, and it's the technology. That's my answer. The technology has dramatically improved in the last 5 years even. We're in a totally different space than we were. And why that's so fundamentally important is because we were kind of hodgepodging community with what we had, which was social media. So like a lot of people think of like Facebook groups, and I can like tell you every single person who I know who is still on Facebook is on Facebook because they're in a Facebook group that they can't live without. Like, if you know anybody who's an exception, please contact me. The technology has been, prior to the last 5 years, quite limited in terms of what we are able to build in the terms of online community. What we've seen in the last 5 years is the rise of what we call all-in-one community platforms. I define these platforms as a space where you own the relationship, with the member. So dissimilar to a Facebook group where you're inviting people in, you don't even have their email. Like, you don't own that relationship. Facebook owns that relationship with that member. You just happen to be in the space providing a group and value to them, which is why Facebook loves having you on there, because you're the one creating all the value. So you own the relationship, number one. And number two, it's your events, your conversation, and content all in one place. So what we saw prior to now is people putting together a hodgepodge of different tech tools. So you might have conversation over in Slack. You've got a calendar of events over in Zoom. You've got your blog. Then you have a video vault library somewhere else. And it's a very fractured ecosystem. That can still work today, and especially for testing out a community. I don't think you need to go all in and build out. I don't recommend like putting the cart before the horse and building out an entire, what would be the equivalent of like a 200-person auditorium for your community members when really you're just starting with like a small intimate group of 12. You don't need to build out a huge platform. But because those platforms exist now, the ability to scale your community and scale intimacy in a thoughtful and intentional way has truly not really been possible up until now without a lot of like hodgepodging different tools together. So that's a pretty big one, because without the tools and tech, like there was just not much that we could do. And what's really amazing is people's willingness to join these new spaces is slowly changing. And a few platforms in particular are kind of reaching this space where, quote, everyone is. It's this very like blurry line of that we cross into where now all of a sudden everyone is there. And that has its own set of pros and its own set of challenges. But I think we're going to continue to see that rise.
Speaking of challenges, what are the biggest challenges in developing a community as a business model? And how might businesses or entrepreneurs address these challenges?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I go into more depth on this in I have a free masterclass called The 4 Types of Communities, and we look at each type of community, the strengths that they bring, that type of community brings to your business, and the challenges that you sign up for. And I'd say the biggest challenge when people are getting started is they want all of the strengths of all of the communities. They're like, oh, yeah, that sounds amazing. We want that. Oh, and we want that. And before you know it, you're not just building one community, you're building 2 or 4. And if it's hard enough to build one, I will tell you it is exponentially harder to build more than one at the same time. So what I like to tell my clients is, I know it's going to feel tough. I know you're going to want to try to find a way that you can like get all of it in one. But when you sign up for all of the strengths of all of the different types of communities, you're also signing up for all of the challenges. So start with one type of community that aligns best with your business model, that serves your business, and know that you can always progress and iterate and pull pieces from the others over time. But if you don't start with the simplest version, number one, you will feel unclear about what it is you are offering and the value of the experience. Number two, if you're confused on it, your members will be confused on it. And number three, the level of effort and energy and just the weight of it will feel a lot heavier than it needs to be in the beginning. Part of the art of community building is making sure that you are positioning the management of your community to feel fun, light, and easy for you and your team. It's critical because it can really quickly turn into something that feels really heavy to manage, really like immovable, inflexible. And so I like to help my clients design it in a way that you're going to want to lead this community, not just today, but a year from now.
That's good. That's really good. Before we kind of shift a little bit, I do want to ask you one last question. what are some meaningful ways that a community can drive revenue beyond just selling memberships, which is typically what people go to for a revenue model for communities? And what, when I say meaningful ways to drive that community can drive revenue, I'm also thinking about, still keeping the community genuine, like a genuine space for support and connection, and not feeling like it's being extractive.
Yep, absolutely. So there's two ways I can answer this. So for paid communities, it's really nice because there's just like a bottom line, right? We're like, there's some revenue coming in from this community. So the ROI is pretty, well, actually, the ROI is there. I like to look at, there's two ways, two like impacts of a community on your business. One is ROI. The other is the impact, the actual impact that your community is having on your members. So that goes back to that transformation journey. Why that's like a second bottom line for your business is because those are your testimonials. Those are like these stories of transformation of like what people are experiencing in your community, how they came in and how they left or what happened to them after the first year. That's a gold mine of inspiration, of content for not only attracting new members, but it acts as a retention tool for your existing members. So one of the things I look at with my clients is how is your community designed to help your members not just get help on the immediate pain point that they are joining for, but actually get inspired beyond their current obstacle, beyond their current problem, and inspired for what's possible. That's really the beauty of community is you start to see from all these people you're like kind of running with and they're one chapter ahead or one chapter behind and you're like, wow, I kind of joined because I had this pain point, but now I'm seeing that person. I didn't even know that was possible. Wait a second. So there's this inspiration that happens in a community that I think we don't even consciously go into it expecting that to happen. But when we design for it, the impact is tremendous because it becomes a flywheel of impact for others. That's the one angle. The other angle is for free communities where the community is designed to support your customers in some way, shape, or form to support the business. There's like a whole rainbow of different types of communities on this side because each department can actually like have their own type of community support. So I'll give you an example. The HubSpot community is like very much, it actually probably touches like all of the pillars of their like business departments. But if we were to like distill it down, that community is focused on customer success. The HubSpot community teaches HubSpot customers how to get better at inbound marketing. The Legos community is a product community. So how the Legos community works is it's called Lego Ideas, and members submit CAD designs for future Lego sets that they want to see created, and other members of the community vote on which sets they want to see come into production. And when your Taylor Swift Eras Tour Lego set comes into production, it's like this huge deal and this big rite of passage. So there's actually like a tremendous variety of how communities can support your business. It can focus on the product. It can help your customers like into greater success with your product. That's where a lot of SaaS companies live. It can also be like an ambassador program and actually be activating your customers to bring in new customers. So those have like a whole other rainbow of possibility.
Thank you, Bri. So if you haven't gained enough wisdom quite yet, it's now time for our resource roundup. And here we are going to gather some tools, tips, and insights that can help you entrepreneurs build strong businesses that are sustainable. And so whether you're just starting out or you're scaling up, this is where we share what's working, what's useful, and what can really support you on your journey. So we're just going to build on to the conversation we've already had, but in a more pointed question to resources, Bri, for a business, for a creator or solopreneur who wants to build an online community as a business, and they are just getting started. What's the very first step that they should take? So many people get confused or don't know. There's so much that can be overwhelming. And so they don't know what their first step should be. What should their first step be?
Yeah.
Google Bri Leever.
That's a great one. So
did you hear Steven? Steven said, call Bri. He said, the first step, call Bri Leever.
I'm like, well, I've got a playlist of podcast episodes for you to listen to. No, so, okay. So I do have a couple of resources that I recommend starting with. So I actually just did a podcast episode for the Dear Bri podcast with Marjorie Anderson, and she gave us 3 really foundational questions to ask. Who is it for? What is it for? And how is it going to happen? So we go into a lot more detail on those 3 questions and how to get meaningful answers and how to seek out the responses from your potential community members. I'd say that's the most fundamental place to start. After that, go check out those 4 types of communities, because we need to get really clear on your community business model. And you need to be clear about that going into it. And you need to be clear on the challenges that you're going to face and whether or not you're ready to sign up for them. The third, fun, like now, like sexy, we get to start doing something, is to run your test. So I recommend, and I talk about this with the 4 types, pick a test for your community. My favorite way to test a community is to do an event, like a mini event series. You don't even have to call it a community. You can call it a program. You can call it an activation. I do events because, number 1, the feedback loop is immediate. You're seeing people. You get to see, is this landing? Are they staying on the call? Are they like chipping out early? So that's really good feedback. We do recurring events because we need to know, did they show up not just once, but did they come back? Did they find value in the initial experience? And you're going to know that if it's like a part 1, part 2, part 3. So run your community test because and make it really short. A good test does a couple things. 1, it has a quick turnaround time. And 2, it's only testing 1 variable at a time. So I like to tell people in your test, the rule is no new technology. This is not it's like kind of the people's favorite form of self-sabotage. It's like, oh, I'm going to run a test, but like, oh, I have to learn this new platform first. And like, oh, I have to go hire this fancy consultant, Bri Leever, to like build it all out first. And I'm like, that's great. I would love to do that for you, but we need to test it first. So don't spend all that money and time and energy perfecting it. Get something out there with technology that you know and love to use.
Well, let me ask you this. What are the top platforms that you recommend hosting an online community and why?
I love this question. We could do a whole other podcast episode about it.
I'm sure.
And I do have YouTube videos comparing different platforms. So if you want to do a deeper dive on this, my YouTube channel has all that information. I am platform agnostic. So I build where my clients and my members are going to be best served. Sometimes that's Slack. Sometimes that is all-in-one platforms, which tend to be my preference. So I'm a certified expert with Circle, Heartbeat, and Honeycomb. The 2 all-in-one platforms that I build most consistently on are Circle and Heartbeat. The only one that I really don't recommend is Mighty Networks. And my community is hosted on Heartbeat. So that is like that's the highlight reel without me getting really nerdy, which I can get nerdy. Like just tell me.
Steven might have some follow-up questions for you after this episode. I can tell by the look on his face.
So Circle, Heartbeat, and what was the third one?
Honeycomb.
Okay.
It's more of a mobile first solution.
Okay.
So the last question I'm going to ask you in our resource roundup is around best practices for growing communities, because some businesses launch a community and then they kind of plateau or they get stuck or the engagement just doesn't continue. Or, it may have gone up at some point and then it just is no growth. So what are some best practices entrepreneurs should consider or keep in mind to grow their community in meaningful ways and for folks to actually engage and find value there?
Yep, totally. This is great. Kimberly, you're getting all Bri's greatest hits. So every question that community builders have, every single one, comes down to two questions. How do I find new members? And how do I get my members engaging with each other more meaningfully? So we look at both of those, but those are huge questions. So it's kind of like staring at the massive oak tree, and the oak tree is like right here in front of your face. And so to approach those questions, we have to take a couple steps back to really be able to like understand it and get a different perspective for how we're going to climb the oak tree or just get around it, if that's our goal. So a couple things here. For engagement, I love to look at engagement through the lens of habit formation. There is a ton of literature, a ton of science behind habit formation, because really when we're talking about engagement, and how to get better engagement, we're asking, how do we change our members' behavior? How do we influence our members' behavior? And that can feel really daunting, and it can feel like, how would we even go about doing that? And I've found a lot of wisdom in the habit formation models for impacting your members' behavior and designing an environment that is optimized for engagement. So I do have a 3-part series where I talk about the 3 ingredients to a good habit, which is a prompt, action, and reward, and how you can nurture each of those ingredients in your community to get the actions that you want to see your members taking. So that's an excellent series that'll give you a good foundation for engagement. For finding new members, there's so many angles to this. When we launch a community, I think about it in 3 waves. The first is it's seeding the idea. My favorite mechanism for seeding the idea is what I call your undercover hype squad. There's a whole format to it, but it's bringing people in, your champions. If you started selling vacuums tomorrow, they'd be stoked and they'd sell a vacuum for you, or they'd buy a vacuum from you. These are the people who are on your undercover hype squad. The second wave of your launch is your soft launch to your audience. It's the people, like anybody who knows you, they like you, they trust you. And then the third wave is moving into borrowed audiences. We're going to assume that you're probably building your own audience along the way, but that takes a lot of time, takes a lot of energy. It's better to do a little bit every single day for several years rather than like, okay, today is the day I'm going to grow my audience. I'm going to do it today. So we kind of have that going in the background, but the quickest way to get in front of more people is to get in front of borrowed audiences. So this is where partnerships with people like Kimberly are so amazing for me, because I'm getting in front of people who don't know me. They know Kimberly, and Kimberly knows and trusts me. And I'm able to use that as a bridge to a new audience of people to share all the goodness behind community building. And now, when someone in your audience is ready to build a community, they know who to come to. So this is an example, like what I'm doing here on this podcast is an example of moving into borrowed audiences. It's my favorite way to get like a quick push into a new space, but there's a lot of other methods and mechanisms for finding new members that we discuss all the time in the Ember community, because it's always a discussion.
That's good. So you all, if you are finding something spark within you or in your brains from this conversation with Bri, you know what? I'm just going to put a plug for Bri right here, which is you need to go hire her. Her website is emberconsulting.co. That's right?
Yeah,
and we'll put that in the show notes as well. And like I said before, earlier in this podcast, you should follow her on LinkedIn. She really puts out some valuable content there. Of course, we want you to go to dogetx.org and check out the resources we have to offer. And if you are thinking about building a community, or you already have a community and you're a bit stuck, or you need to, you're trying to pivot or do something different, Bri's the one to go in contact. Do it today so you can get your community better tomorrow.
They always say the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago, and like the best time to start a community was 10 years ago, but the second best time is today. Yeah.
There you go.
have it. Well, it's now time for one of our favorite segments called Off the Cuff. And so we have a rapid fire round of questions for Bri, where she has not seen these in advance. And so here are the rules, Bri. First thought, your best thought, no filters, no overthinking, just go with your gut.
Stephen, I live my life off the cuff. This is great.
Okay, so then here we go. What has been the greatest lesson so far on your entrepreneurial journey?
First thing that came to mind was my initial launch of my business. I challenged myself to have a call with 100 people in 90 days, and it completely launched my business. And I keep coming back to that. Every year I come back and I interview at least 10 people who are in my sphere, and it has continued to refine, evolve my practice and my business in ways that I would not be attuned to if I didn't get on the phone with people.
What is one daily, weekly, or monthly practice that sets you up for success as an entrepreneur?
Two things. I'm really into sprint methodology, so I use sprints I've used it for myself as like a solo team. I've used it with like a small team of people. I've used it with a big group of people. But my commitment to the sprint methodology for my weekly planning is like very deep, and it keeps me on track. And the second thing that I do daily is gratitudes at night and writing out a vision of my big dream for my life every morning. And then one final one, which is a weekly sunrise surf session with my small kind surf club. keeps me human.
How has your faith shaped the way that you lead or build your business?
My faith and my spirituality is the foundation of my being. And I think our society has conditioned, well, I'll speak for myself. I have felt conditioned to view my work as a doing. And more recently, I'm coming back to my work as a state of being over a state of doing.
What is one piece of technology that has been a game changer for your business?
Those community platforms, man. Heartbeat's a game changer for me. I love Heartbeat. It's like, it makes my life so much easier, and I can focus on the things that like really need my time and attention, and I don't have to get in the weeds about like posting Zoom calls.
Well, then how much of your success do you attribute to your faith versus your own grit, will, or your own hustle?
Oh, it's tricky. I don't totally see it as like separate things, because I think it's all really combined for me. My faith and my spirituality is what propels me forward. Like my love for humanity and for community is like what leads me on those tough days to dig in a little bit deeper, or to like ask the tougher questions that I might be avoiding. So I see it as all pretty integrated, honestly. I'm not answering that question very well, but that's my honest response.
Complete this sentence. Because of my entrepreneurial endeavors, businesses will be or are more able to blank. Expand
in connection, belonging, and success.
Thank you so much, Bri. This has been such a fun, insightful episode, and I appreciate you, the work that you are up to, the relationships that we have built, and the relationships and connections that we have created for one another. So thank you for all that you are and all that you're doing and helping to build communities, not just your own, but other people's communities, and it being a source of connectedness among us.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
Bri, I just want to say thank you as well. I mean, it has been such a delight to just sit and listen and to be engaged with a master practitioner. And
Oh,
so, thank you for what you do in the world. And, knowing that the world is better off because Bri Leever is somewhere in Hawaii surfing, but also creating community and helping people build community in this new age in which we're moving into. So thank you.
thanks, you guys. This was delightful. Thanks for letting me pop off about community. I love doing it.
We loved it too.
Well, we hope that you all continue to tune in. And until next time, be sure to check out Bri Leever and all of her resources. Check out Do Good X. And you all be well and do
Do
good.
good.
Thank you for listening to the Do Good X podcast. To continue the conversation or access our resources, visit www.dogoodx.org. Join us again for conversations that will nourish your soul, ignite your dreams, and empower you to build an impactful business, one intentional step at a time. Until then, keep striving, thriving, and doing good.